Hello guys, today we are gonna see the exercises that we're gonna do in the endurance competition, and we're gonna explain them. We're gonna say the rules and how we are going to judge. For the muscle up, we're gonna have the desktop in the top of the bar, so when the athlete is up, and lock the elbow completely up. So he comes up, I see that the elbow is locked, I touch, and then he can go to the next rep. For the muscle ups, it's required to have one small swing in between the reps, and this is because there is going to be a second judge down here that is going to look that when the athlete is down, the elbows are completely locked. So we want you to go up, and when you come down, you're going to do a swing in between for the judge to see that your arms are straight, and then you go to the next muscle up. So you go up, when you come down, you don't go directly up, you do one swing in between and then go up again. In the case that the athlete goes directly up, it's going to be counted as no rep, even if you lock the elbows, because it's hard for the judge to see that fast if the elbow is locked or not. Or the other option is when you swing and you are swinging with not locking your elbows, then it's also going to be a no rep. So same as the pull-ups, there is not keeping allowed, and the leg should always be straight. So this will be a no rep, bending the legs and doing keeping. Or this, even though the legs were straight, there was still a keeping with the hip, so it's also a no rep. Some other things to consider in the muscle up is both arms have to go up at the same time, so not going with one first and then with the other, like chicken wing. Another thing to have in consideration is that the athlete is not allowed to rest on the bar when the athlete is on top. So if you are going to take some seconds, you should take them with straight arms, or you are also free to come down because there is not going to be unbroken sets. Remember that in this endurance competition, there are two really important things to have in consideration. One is the form, and the other one is the speed. But you need to be fast, always keeping the form. The form goes first. So how is the athlete going to start? There are going to be two athletes who are going to compete against each other, and the athletes, in the case of the muscle up, in the case of the dips, or in the pull-ups, they're gonna start on the box. They are not gonna be touching the bar. They can also be near the bar with the hands. And then when we say go, then the athlete can touch the bar and go for the exercise. Now, if the athlete wants to do one swing in the muscle up, for example, and go directly up after the swing, that's also allowed, but just has to be clear that his elbows are completely extended. So we're gonna do two examples. One example, he's going to go directly up. So it's important that if you go directly up, when you hold the bar, your arms are completely extended and your elbows are locked. That will be an example for the first rep. And the other example is when you take first one swing and then you go in the second swing. So now we're going to see the pull-ups. For the pull-ups and for all the exercises, it's obligatory to make a dead stop. So in the pull-ups, when the athlete is down, we are gonna check that his elbows are completely locked, and then we're gonna tap so that you can go for the next rep. So again, I see that he is locked, I tap, and so on. If he do one rep and he doesn't lock down completely, then it's no rep, and I'm no tapping, and if I didn't tap, then all those reps are no rep. So the dead stop is when the athlete is down in the pull-up, and when the athlete is up, there is going to be a second judge that is going to look if the chin is above the bar. Now, it's really important that the chin is not only higher than the bar, but also that is clearly visible that is above the bar. So we're gonna show an example here. You can see he goes with the chin over the bar, and something that wouldn't count is when he goes up, but he doesn't go to the front. Even though he went high up now and it was clear, sometimes it is not that clear, and that's why we are asking you to go with the shin not only high, but also in front and above the bar. So another important point is when the athlete is performing the pull-ups, they shouldn't do keeping, they shouldn't bend the legs, so they have to be always straight. So when he goes up, legs are straight and there is no keeping. You can also, here you bend the legs, or you could also do keeping with the hip, and it's not allowed. Even when the legs are straight, if he's doing keeping with the hip, it is not going to be a rep. Other point that is also important, not only in pull-ups but in muscle-ups, is that there is going to be an obstacle 80 centimeters away from where the bar is, and that's going to be the distance that the athlete can take to make a swing. Now, if the athlete will touch the box, then it's no rep. And also, you have to be careful that if you start getting too much swing, you are not gonna lose the form, because if you get a lot of swing and you start losing the form, it's also not going to be a rep, even if you didn't touch the box. Something important to have in consideration in the competition, in all exercises, is that you shouldn't wear clothes like this one, because when it's too loose, it also interferes for the judge to see if everything is strict or not. So make sure to have clothes that are fit to the body, or also perform without shirt. For the dips in parallel bars, maybe something to really have in consideration here is that when you go down, you shouldn't let your hip up, because we are going to be looking at the pelvis always go at the height, or actually under the height of the bars. So you can see that he goes clearly with the pelvis under the bars. This will be an example of a no rep, where he's clearly doing a flexion on the hip, and that's why his pelvis is not coming down and up, and it's staying more or less in the same place. There shouldn't be any keeping. The dead stop is going to be on top where the elbow is locked, and also when you're coming down, it should be clear that you go less than 90-degree angle on the elbow. So this wouldn't count because he's not going clearly to the less than 90 degrees, and this one will count now. When he's up and he locked the elbows, I touch and he's allowed to go to the next rep. So for the push-ups, we are going to have anyway, like always, a dead stop on the top. When the elbows are completely locked, the judge will touch and then the athlete can come to the next rep. Down, we're gonna have a block that the athlete will touch with the chest every time the athlete goes down. There's going to be a second judge that is only going to be looking on the movement in the bottom, and the judge that does the dead stop. It is important that the hip stay more or less in a neutral position and not to have hip too high or too low into a hollow back. So make sure that your hip is always in a neutral position and you have a straight line with your complete body. We also want to have the athletes engaging their core so that the hip is not moving while doing the reps. With the goblet squat, again, the dead stop is mandatory on the top, so the knees should be locked up and the kettlebell must be held in a high position close to your chest, but it shouldn't touch your body. In the lower position of the goblet squat, it's really important that the knees will have less than a 90-degree angle. It needs to be clear that you are going less than 90 degrees to have the rep valid. So this is how you're gonna hold the kettlebell on the top. Really important, it doesn't touch your body. You go down, it's clear that he's going less than 90 degrees, then up, then the judge will tap to go to the next rep. In the competition, we are also going to have weighted exercises. For the pull-ups and the dips, we're going to be using this belt. We're gonna have 3 carabiners. One is to put the belt together, the other one is to hold the band, and then the other one to put the weight on the belt. It is just really important to say that you as an athlete should always make sure before your set that you feel comfortable with the belt, that you know how to use it, because in your set, nobody is going to be helping you to put on the weights. And another really important thing is that when you are finished with the weighted exercises, you should always take it off and pull it carefully down. We don't want anybody throwing plates or throwing kettlebells, so always, even when you are in a rush, always make it carefully. If you throw the weights, there is going to be a penalty. We are also allowing the athletes to bring their own weight belt. So guys, these were the exercises that we are going to have in the endurance competition. If you have any other question, please write now and ask now. In the competition, there is also going to be a briefing, but it's really important that you are already clear with how it's going to be judged. One more thing I want to say to all the athletes: remember, this is an endurance competition and not a speed competition. So go rep by rep and make sure that every rep counts, because again, we don't want bad form, we want good form first. And if you're just gonna go for a speed and you're gonna have no reps, first of all, you're just gonna exhaust yourself more and you're just gonna lose more time. So make sure, go rep by rep. We are gonna make sure that the sets are going to be really about endurance and not about speed.